Good day and Hippopive. Welcome to the 16th and final episode of season one of Brothers Crossing. Before we get started, I want to make sure that you like and subscribe and share. Tell a friend. We will take your likes as being that you want us back for season two. But no matter what, we'll be back for season two. So what's happening, Coven Nando?
What's happening, Nando?
We are doing just fine. I love life today. Because guess what? Nobody cares. Work harder. That's what it is
All
today.
right, there you go. There you go. So yeah, we're gonna have a little free form today. So I want to know what's on your mind on this last episode and show. You got something you wanted to talk about our season or something in the news? Y'all shoot it out. I'm coming to you, lead hitter Nando. What's happening? What's on your mind?
I think our show with us growing, think collectively we've had guests on here that's been positive guests. I think our conversations deal with our mantra of old school and new school, mixing it up with TV shows and stuff like that. I think we're growing and we're doing fine. I think, can we get better? Oh yeah, most definitely we can get better.
I mean, I think you guys need to step up. You know, my back hurts.
Yeah.
With
First,
Rodney,
take off the little kids' earphones first, and
with Roro's mispronouncing all of these words when we start, and that comment you just said, this is people. This is what I have to deal with each and every time. Unbelievable.
But yeah, 16 episodes, man. We had the tip that made the trip. We had somebody, you want to be 25, cryptocurrency. We talked about careers, dementia, television, football, jobs,
Hold on. On the
free speech, executive orders. We did a lot.
On the 25, if my memory corrects me, you guys were on that you would not want to be 25. Do I remember that correctly?
I said I wouldn't be 25 today. Yes,
right.
I would.
And I think,
Yeah.
Nando, I think you said the same thing. And I both, and do you still feel that now? You've had some time to, have some rational thought go through your heads?
Yes.
Yes, we have, and it still feels the same way.
You still feel the same way?
Still feel the same way.
Okay. So obviously you're both still wrong. Nothing, time has not improved your thought process, and that's okay.
My God. You fellas, I tell you what, I'm gonna start with some good news first. It's Veterans Day's week, and happy Veterans Day to the people who served.
Yes, sir.
And the other
Happy
thing,
Veterans Day.
Yes, happy Veterans Day.
Yeah, but to kind of bring back to a show that we did with interview with Walter Lanier, we were real heavy on Milwaukee. But I want to bring some positive news because Milwaukee is one of 6 cities that has a veteran community project where they have tiny homes for homeless veterans. So they have like a community of 40 homes for veterans, for them to, those little tiny homes, 250 square feet, and they get to stay there. And that's how they get started, get back on their feet if they're homeless. So they have one in Kansas City, Glendale, Longmont, Colorado, Sioux Falls, St. Louis, and then they just built one in Milwaukee. So hats off to Milwaukee. And yes, Cove, it is a great city.
I mean, somebody called me, and you'll have to refresh my memory about this. Somebody called me not long after that interview and asked if what I thought about moving to Milwaukee, or is Milwaukee a place that I would want to go to? And you could tell them my answer.
Well, there's 3 of us, so let me remove myself and then after.
I mean, if Milwaukee was so great, why aren't you still living there?
Hey, the world is great too. I'm just saying Milwaukee is another great.
There's reasons that we left where we grew up.
That's true.
Right?
That's true. And the other thing I wanted to talk to, and y'all can start, is this whole everything that's going on in the world. It just makes me mad. And I don't see how the world's being so gullible, is that all this chaos that's being created, like healthcare, whatever, Epstein, the freaking, you can name a laundry list, ICE, everything. And so I'm
Government
thinking
shutdown.
about, shut down, everything, all this chaos. And I'm thinking, you know what chaos does? It is the the best place a grifter wants to be. So if you see all this chaos, make sure y'all check y'all wallets because they're going to take some money from you. They're going to take a right from you and they're going to take a freedom from you. That's how I feel. It's almost like the old 60s show, Get Smart, where they had the control group against the evil chaos group. And that's where you're trying to fight each other. And that's what I feel like we are at now. It's actually chaos against control. And we don't have control. So it's all chaos. That's how if you remember that show, Cub. I think you might
I
have
mean,
been.
I think not to be negative, but just to put a realistic spin on. I mean, I'm just waiting for everything to collapse.
Wow.
Now, what do I mean by
Wow.
that? What do I mean by
Yes,
that?
please
I'll tell you what
explain
I
that.
mean by that. Tell you what I mean by that. You know, everyone's out, and I was listening to another podcast, and I heard something I thought made a lot of sense. Everything in society today is about the individual. It's basically fuck society for the most part. It's all about the individual now. So, and I talked about the nation's debt. 38 trillion. I saw a video today that showed on a table, a single $100 bill and then $10,000 and then $100,000 and $1 million. And then because it was too big, the pile was 100 million. And then it showed what $1 trillion looks like in pallets of $100 bills. It was the size of a football field. Now imagine 38 of those. Here comes your monthly bill. Here's
Yeah.
38 pallets of, 6 foot high of $100 bills. I need your payment. You know how much money's going to the payment each year of just interest on the debt now?
Probably a lot.
It's more
But
than the
that's just
defense
one part of
budget.
the chaos. That's just one part of the chaos.
But this one affects everybody,
All the
whether
other
you're
ones did
rich,
too.
you're poor, and everything. But when it collapses, there's going to be nothing for anybody. At some point,
Yeah, I
you're
will.
spending
That's what I'm
you're
trying to warn
spending
you.
spending $1.2 trillion now just in interest on the debt. It's more than the defense budget, and it ain't going down. It's going to keep going
Right.
up.
Do you
And
see do you see the
and
upper 1% worried about that? Are they worried about that?
well, when their money is collapses like Greece
No.
or Mexico in the early, it's definitely going to happen because at some point you're going to give your finger to your creditors because you can't pay it back. There's no way it's going to get paid back.
Are you serious,
No way
Cub?
it's going to.
Are you really serious?
They're going to have to reset, screw everybody, and start over, and your money's going to be worth nothing.
Let me explain something to you.
I think that's over
Yes,
exaggeration.
over exaggeration. Because Jay-Z and Beyonce bought a Beverly Hills house for $58 million. And
Don't matter.
I know you don't understand. Well, you do understand the way you live in,
I understand
but
it.
they spent majority of it in cash. Do you know how much they borrowed against that individual house? And please, whatever I say, I want people to look it up.
When you say they paid cash for it, but they borrowed against it.
They borrowed $110 million that they're living off of. So with you sitting here saying that statement that our 1%, which is you and everybody else, is going to live that way, is not going to happen because they borrowed against it and they're living off of what they borrowed against. What do you think all of these Buffett and everybody else does? They sit here and they make a case. Make a case like, I'm going to buy this property or I'm going to buy this land and I'm going to go to the bank and I'm going to say, bank, I have this land, I have this property. I need to get money for that. Guess what? Because I'm going to get the interest off it, the bank's going to say, how much you want? If it's worth $30 million, give me $20 million. You guys can collect interest off of that, and they're going to live off the $20 million. So you and the 1% is not going to be worried about if we collapse, because guess what's going to happen? They have that money sitting there that when we collapse, they're going to go and they're going to buy up all of the stuff. They have money ready to go. Us, individuals who don't have that money, we're not going to be able to purchase things. We're not going to be able to buy things and everything else. So, Cub, I'm sorry to tell you, but you rich individuals, you guys still have your way of doing it. And no, I don't agree with you.
Yeah, I don't
Okay,
agree.
well, let me give you my retort. When this collapse happens, it may not. I'm not going to say it's going to happen in the next 5 years,
Not gonna
but
even
I'm going to
happen
say
in
it's.
your lifetime.
Oh, I think it'll happen in my lifetime, and it's going to be a shame for all the younger folks.
Most definitely.
Because when that collapse happens and they give the finger to everybody, because they know they can't, by the time your debt's going to be up to $50 trillion by 2035.
Agree
You
100%.
can't pay it back. You're gonna be spending over $2 trillion a year of a $6 trillion annual budget just in interest. Everything has to get cut. You don't have a choice. Or you're gonna go, well, screw it to the bondholders. Everything's they're gonna reset at zero. So that $20 million that you think's valuable is going to be worth about $1,000 because the inflation is going to kill it. Yeah, I'm going to go buy a candy bar. How much is a candy bar? $7,000. That's what's going to happen.
But that goes
It's an extreme example, but that's what's going to happen.
but that goes
Well, I think
into
you get focused on the debt part too much.
but that goes into what I wanted to
The
discuss.
problem is no one's focused on the debt part. They just
That's
want to
because they know
keep
they can,
going.
like Nando said, you can leverage all the productivity of United States, borrow as much money anytime, anytime. That they're not really focused on the debt. It's us who they're telling, "Oh my God, we got to save some money." They're not focused on that. They want us to believe it. So when they can start cut stuff, so
And
I don't. I think that's
they're going
why
to cut. They have to exactly. They're going to have to start cutting everything.
I know, but that's how they're getting you to believe
Come
that.
on.
They
Come
don't.
on.
They're not worried
Preach.
about that.
Preach.
They're not worried about the debt. Why do you think we're going through all this thing? You started at a balanced budget. Now we have 1 trillion and they're still spending. Well, they're not afraid of debt. Debt doesn't mean that you got to pay it all, right? But if you have productivity from the US, we can always borrow and leverage that. And that's why
But
it's going
they
to be a
have, but
continual cycle. And it's not going to go out of the US ain't going out of
The
business. Let's
1%.
just say that.
but they're making an assumption that you're going to have constant growth. Let's call it 3% from now in perpetuity. Have we ever had a recession? Has that ever happened?
Yeah.
Have we ever had financial crisis? Has that ever happened?
It
has.
has.
How many times has that happened?
In our life.
Doesn't have anything to do with
I mean,
the
the
debt.
most recent, we had the whole COVID situation. Then prior to that, you had the '08 financial crisis, right? And then you had 9/11 that caused its little situation. Then in the late '80s, early '90s, after the bubble of the Reagan Bush years, and we started going backwards, which brought in Clinton. Then in the late '70s, you had super inflation in the teens, upper teens. I mean, come on, guys, it's cyclical. It's going to keep
How
happening.
old are you? That was
Yes.
there was 5 things you brought up in our lifetime. It's still going to continue to happen unless you're Green Mile, it's still going to continue to happen in our lifetime. You listen 5 things and every decade something has happened to us. Why do you think, oh my God, we're ready to get started. Why do you think they brought up this 50-year mortgage, which kills me? Because they're
It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
dumbest thing, because you know why they said? Because most individuals right now who are getting houses are 40 and above. They need the young kids to get into a house, but they can't afford it with getting out of college, getting a job. So you know what they said? Guess what? We'll give you a 50-year mortgage where the mortgage rate is less. So if you spend $500,000 on a house, and we're talking in Los Angeles, that's how much our houses are.
For a shack.
Yeah, for a
Yes.
shack. You get a $500,000 house, your mortgage payment. Guess what, kids? Your mortgage payment is only going to be $2,400. At a regular 30-year mortgage, you would pay interest up to $900,000 for a 30-year mortgage if you paid that. Now, what they're saying with a 50-year mortgage, you're going to pay $1.3 million for a $500,000 house. What they're saying is, we don't care about that. We need to get these young people spending money, getting into a house so that, guess what? For Cub, you and your friends, so that you guys can continue making money.
Well, for one thing, you're never going to own a
No,
house with a 50-year mortgage.
never,
You're never going to own it.
never.
Okay. Secondly, if they do this, I don't think it's going to happen because I think it's the stupidest idea that the idiot in charge brought up. But a 50-year mortgage, I mean, there's people struggling to get into houses now because there just isn't enough, and it's pushed the prices up. What do you
Yes.
think's going to happen when they do a 50-year mortgage and then you're bringing more buyers that are going to get in? House prices are going to go up higher. They're getting squeezed either way. It's not going to work.
Well, guess what?
It's not going to work.
But you and the 1% want to give the opportunity to the young kids who are 20 to 35. Hey, right now, you guys don't have to rent. You guys can get into a house with a nice little mortgage that you guys are able to afford. You and your wife build your family, but you're not building equity. Here's the thing.
You're not going to be able to afford it because the house prices are going to go through the roof even more than they are now with a 50-year
Agreed.
mortgage because
I agree.
everyone's going to be running to buy a house.
But you and you're rich because guess what? You and your friends are going to be like,
Goofy
hey, bring the
motherfucker.
money here because when you guys lapse on not paying that house, we're going to buy that house and then we're going to rent it out and put it underneath all of our stack of money we're going to get. That's why they're saying that our
Okay.
kids
When
are
that happens, I better see you jump up and buy the first 5 houses.
I'm sorry.
And then rent them out what you're talking about. Rent them out just like what you're talking about. Then you're going to go, man, this rent a house cost me $17 trillion. I need a
thought, man,
renter.
you thought it
I
was a
can
bad
afford
idea.
15.
I'm sorry. Did you not listen to when we started this conversation? I am not part of your 1%. So there's no way that I'm going
You
to go
think it's
sit
a
here
great
and buy a
idea?
couple houses. Come on, Mark. Let's be real.
Do you think it's a good idea?
I do not think it's a good idea for the young people to get for the young people to sit here and get a 50-year mortgage unless, here's the unless, that if they get a 50-year mortgage at 7% right now, and that within 10 years it drops to 4% or 3% and they refinance. If they don't refinance and they stick with the 50-year mortgage, I think it's an error. But if they have a plan, if their parents told them correctly and they have a plan that they get in the 50-year and that then they refinance at 4%, 5%, whatever it drops down to a 30-year, then yes. But if they're going to stick with a 50-year, never.
I say no. I say no. It's a
What
sucker's bet.
you
Not
you
only
you
are
sh-
you just focusing on home ownership is
Yes.
just not the interest rate. What about the fact, like you said, Cub, the price of the house is going to go up, and you know what goes up when the price of your house goes up?
Property. Yeah.
Taxes. Your real
hello
estate taxes are
hello
going up too. So now, not it's great now I can afford on paper. It looks like but you've got taxes that are going to be through the roof, and you're not going to be able to afford it. So it doesn't make any sense
Wow,
at
that
all. It's a
almost sounds
sucker
like a
bet.
housing bubble again.
Yes. We are going to the housing bubble.
It just goes back to me. It goes back to my theory of chaos. Throw something out there. Here's chaos. Now we're here talking about it. But that's one aspect of your life. How about healthcare? Oh, let's not talk about healthcare because the
Don't
young
get me
folks don't
started.
think they have healthcare problems. They're gonna have healthcare, and as we get older, we're gonna have Medicaid problems. So it's a bigger picture. So we keep having this chaos.
Because it
Focus over here. Focus over here. Focus over there. Yeah.
but those are things you have to focus on.
Yeah, you
It's
have to
not a
focus on healthcare, but you don't
it's
not
not a
necessarily.
distraction. It's not a distraction. You have to focus on it because the cost of healthcare continues to go up. The ACA didn't fix any of that. I mean, look at the premiums that people are paying without subsidies. They continue to go up. It's ridiculous because we are a for-profit system.
Yes. We are.
We, as a patient, we're just a commodity. That's all we are. We're not individuals that need health care. We're just a commodity. We're just being traded across the board just like stocks are.
Until you
That's all
fight,
we are. There's no value to us.
until you fight for yourself. If you fight for yourself with your doctor, then you're not the individual that's on all of these medicines that they're easily, guess what? You're ADHD. Guess what? Here are 3 medicines for you to take. Oh, you got high cholesterol. Here's 3 medicines for you to take. We as an individual has to fight for ourselves to get out of that for profit society that we have with healthcare. Here's a question I have for you. You both have kids. Now here's the question. I'm taking care of my mother right now because of her dementia. Which one of you feel comfortable that one of your kids will be able to take care of you? Now, if you guys say, I don't believe one of my kids will be able to take care of me, do you guys have the insurance to cover you that if you guys have to go into a quality home, that you guys are able to do that?
No,
It's
I'll
hard to
put a
tell.
bullet. I'll no, I'll put a bullet in my own fucking head before I do that.
All
I'm
right,
not
Dr.
kidding.
Kevorkian.
I
Dr. Kevorkian over here.
No, that's me helping you. That's me putting a bullet in your head.
Uh,
No, I've thought I've had this thought for a long time. Not everybody is fortunate enough to have you, Nando, taking care of your mother. Not everybody's in that position. Most people are like, we're going to do a dad or mom or grandpa, whatever. But I know for myself, speaking for myself, that, you know, I think when you're getting to that point, if you don't have dementia or something, just physically, you're just done.
You don't know. You do not know.
I'm not gonna burden anybody with that. I'll go walk out in the woods and put a bullet in my head and be done.
You don't know. You do not
right.
know.
It's not worth living. It's not worth living.
I bless you with the comment you just made because that was very honest. But I will tell you, going through this, I found out I moved her out 3 years ago. And 2 years before that is when people started to call me and tell me this is what's going on. Cub, bless you. Bless you with your thought process, but you are not going to know when that time is coming.
Yeah, and you're talking about dementia. I'm not talking about dementia. I'm
You
talking
talking, what are you
about
talking about? Walking? You can walk?
I'm just talking,
So how do you know?
there are people that are physically, mentally, they're all there, but their body's given up. Their
That's
body's not
different.
there.
That's different. Yeah.
They don't, that's what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
that's different.
I mean, if I can wake up and look and still have a conversation like this when I'm that, whatever age I get to, but the body's not there, it's not worth living, man.
I'll tell
It's not worth living.
Roro,
Yeah, I don't know. Like I
Roro,
said, question me.
Roro, before you
What's that?
answer, let me explain this to you. My mother goes to a senior center in the neighborhood that she has been going to ever since I brought her out here, and she's developed friends. So I happened to go there one day and they were support to veterans. So I walked in and I was like, here, I'm here to pick up my mother. And they're like, she's in there having snacks with a veteran. So they were sitting here having food. And I go, well, let me let her, let me let her hang out with her friends. And I said to the person who was running the facility, I said, hey, you probably get a lot of people like me who take care of their mother or their father coming in, picking them up and doing that. You know, she goes, let me stop you. She goes, 90% of the people that come to the senior center doesn't have anybody like you. Just let that sit for a second.
That's a
That's
true statement.
Let that sit for a
That's a true
second.
statement.
90% of the people that go to that senior center doesn't have anybody like me who takes care of their mother, who makes sure they're okay. They're by themselves. So the senior center is their livelihood. So when it comes to not the physical part, but the mental part, you're not going to know. And unless you have friends that step in and be like watching out for you, this is what we're gonna go through in the next 30 years is hard. It is very hard.
I've been in one of those places 20 years ago, well, not quite 20 years ago, with a family member. And one thing that struck me in those senior living centers, for one thing, it's like they're all teenagers. They're all rolling themselves around in wheelchairs and calling each other names like it was high school. That is like, oh my God, what is going on here with these old people, right? And talking about who's sleeping with who and all this stuff. And
What
then
facility was you at?
I'll tell you off script, but I never forget walking by this room and this elderly, she would say it over and over. Jesus, just please take me. That's, it's not like she was there mentally, but physically was just, please just get it over with. That's what I'm talking about for me.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think,
I know
my
Rodney's
parents
in the
are.
position of whatever happens to him. And we've talked about this
Yep.
before. I don't know if he's talked to you about it, Nando, but Rodney's body could be completely crushed in a smasher and his head survived. You're going to put him on terminal life support because at some time in the next 5 million years, there's going to be a cure. And Rodney wants to be that one guy that they save and bring back to life.
That's right. When they give you an
Don't
estimate,
turn off. Don't turn.
that's
Don't turn
right.
the the
And the
the
doctor
the uh,
say
the
he's only
switch
got 5
off.
days. Nope, you better multiply it by
Don't
3.
turn it off.
That means
Don't turn the
15
switch off.
days. That's right.
Because you know what he's saying?
But like for me, it's hard to it's hard to like I'll say, oh, I'm going to be prepared. We're not prepared for anything, really. I mean, you can only do the best you can. Do I think I have my son that will look out for me? He would do his best, but it's not like he's going to be, you know, in a situation like you, Nando, where I'm living with him. That might be the best avenue for me to be in a senior facility. But am I prepared? Who knows how much that's going to cost by the time we get to that age. So it's like I don't know. I can't. I don't know, but I would say I'm trying to plan as much as I can, and that's about all I could say.
And you could speak from your parents that I'm assuming it's Medicaid. Correct me if I'm wrong. Only
From my
covers so
mom.
much. Only covers so much, right?
Yep.
And then there's yeah, it's $8,000 a month, but your Medicaid only covers 4,000. So I need to
Nah,
check every
that,
month.
that's not
You
how
know
it
what I'm
works.
saying?
It's usually you have to take your assets down to a certain level. Say, for example, my mom, you have to bring their assets down to $2,000, and that's all the assets she has. They have to split my
They have to
parents'
be poor.
assets.
They have to be
So
poor.
they have to be poor, and once they're poor, Medicaid's gonna pay some lower rate than what the senior facility would charge to someone who's not in, like, memory care or something like that or on Medicaid. So if their average ticket was 6,000 a room, Medicaid would pay 4, and they're not gonna ask you for any more. The only other thing they might ask you for a copayment. Medicaid might ask you for a copayment to kinda help out with the cost, but
Yeah. It's
but yeah, it's just a so it's kind but who knows what's that's gonna look
That has
like,
changed.
and so you
and
can't.
you think it's going to get cheaper?
No, it has changed.
No, it's not going to get
Well, hold
cheaper
on, hold on,
because it's a for-profit system.
hold on for a second. While I was sitting here talking to this individual who told me that 90% of the people they don't have a child or they don't have a child that cares enough to go in California. Please, anything that I say, I want you guys to do research in your own state and your own community. What she had mentioned to me is that Medicaid is changing. She goes, what happens now is if you would like to take care of your parents in your home, Medicaid is now starting to do it. You have to reach a certain threshold. In California, it's $1,800. If your parents happen to be making $3,000, Medicaid is going to take everything above that, but they're going to send somebody to your house to take care of your parents, but they're going to take everything of that. And the only thing that you're going to receive is $35. And I said, hold on, let me understand this. I go, let me comprehend this. She goes, I go, what you're telling me is anything over above that threshold, whatever that number is, Medicaid is going to take, but they're going to make sure that somebody can come to your house and take care of your person, whoever that is, your mother or your father, and take care of them. And I said, oh, that's interesting. Two, listen to this. She said up to 200 hours a month, up to 200 hours a month, they will take care of this person over the threshold that number is they get. And the only thing you get in your pocket is because you don't need anything. They're going to take that, and Medicaid in this state is going to take care of your mother or your father up to that point. So what you're saying, Rod, and what you're saying, Cub, is you don't have to put them in a senior center. You just have to figure out 200 hours a month to divide that, and Medicaid will come to your home and do that. So, Cub, you're looking crazy, but that's what she told me. That's why I'm telling individuals who watch this podcast to do your own research, because she said that is what's happening now. So it is totally changed here in California. I don't know if it's changed in other states.
Yeah, and I think that's fine. I think every state has their own type of program, but there's a similar one in the state where my parents are, and so, like I said, but we don't know what programs are gonna be there, and that's the only thing. The question was, I don't know. I don't know.
I think those programs are going to shrink and shrink because of the cost of Medicaid against the budget every year continues to expand because we're living longer
Yes, we are.
and we're requiring more treatment as we get older. So, I mean, that money's you got to cut somewhere to feed another side of the budget.
So, the last topic I want to talk about before we kind of wrap up, what about this whole concept of tariffs and $2,000 payment
Not going to happen. Not going to happen.
that's being offered?
Where's the Doge check?
Right. But that
Not going
you
to
see
happen.
what my original point is, like there's a bunch of ideals being thrown out, a bunch of chaos being talked about, but there's no governing going on.
You guys,
There's nothing happening.
There's no one standing there and going, Mr. President, you know you can't do that. That's the role of Congress. Why even bring up such a stupid, idiotic idea? Because you got a bunch of idiots that are going, yep, go to the mailbox, see if my check's in there.
because you guys are
Dummies.
forgetting.
Absolute
You
dummies.
guys are forgetting. Wag the dog. If nobody
Yes.
ever
That's right.
goes back, follow this movie in the 90s. I will continue to bring this up. And every podcast we talk about politics. Wag the dog. What happened is when California sat here and voted against redistricting to get more districts, that messed up the Republicans. So guess what they're saying? Hey, since we're now goofed up, let me talk to the people. People, I'm going to give y'all $2,000 to vote because the Republicans got hit. It goes back to wag the dog because they're looking at, here, concentrate on this $2,000, not this stuff that I'm doing over here. Concentrate on this so everybody in the water cooler, unlike Cub, everybody like us is at the water cooler. I can't wait to give them.
Because mine's a gold water cooler, just so we know.
I'm
Right.
spending my $2,000. I'm spending my $2,000 already before I even get it, not knowing that the government is doing other things over here. So that's what I want people to understand. Don't believe the hype. Do not listen to them and believe the hype.
Yeah, call me Agent 86 then. That's my other nickname, my alter ego. Agent 86. I'm on the control team and I'm fighting chaos.
Yeah. So, Cub, talk about
Okay.
the 1%. Tell us what you think.
I think members of I think it's even more than 1%. I think it goes into the top 10%. Here's one thing that I think most people will agree on. No one wants to pay taxes. No one wants to pay tax. Everything in the financial
I disagree.
industry and people that support that industry and work in that industry, everything that they do is to try and minimize your tax exposure.
Yeah.
That's
So,
true as a
so for
concept,
your
but I think people understand they have to pay
Well,
taxes,
they don't
right?
understand.
well, they understand that they do, but they want to pay as little as
Yes.
possible.
Right.
They want this is what I talked about earlier, is about the individual. They want to keep us, and it's not, you can't fault people for wanting to make sure that they're taken care of. But when you reach a certain level of wealth, you don't really want to pay anything. You're other, and large corporations, they report they make billions of dollars in profit. But what's your effective tax rate? Well, it's zero. We didn't pay any taxes on the $1 billion because you let them carry their losses forward for who knows for how long. But everybody wants a strong defense. Everybody wants paved roads, and everybody wants
And oh yeah,
infrastructure, and
disaster.
everybody wants all
Oh
this stuff, but
Lord Jesus,
nobody
come
wants
help
to
us.
pay for
No
it.
government.
No,
Yeah,
no, no, hold on it.
yeah.
I'll give you 2 out of 3, Cub. I'm gonna call you on the carpet on that one. I'll give you 2 out of 3 on the statements you just said. The one thing is people don't understand about defense because of the fact that if some other country gets a hold of nuclear shit, all they need is a couple bombs. We don't need 8, 9 million bombs. We don't need protecting ourselves like we did before. So when you said defense, I wouldn't agree with the defense. I agree with everything else you have mentioned.
Well, what I'm saying is everyone wants that. We want the best. Well, it's called the Department of War. Everybody wants the best military. Give them everything they need. Everybody wants all these things as a nation, but no one wants to pay for it.
But then you got to ask the question.
Hence, 38 trillion in debt.
Here's the
Thank
question
you
I
very
want
much.
to ask both of you. That when you guys talk to
Let
your
Rodney.
workers tomorrow, when you guys are hanging out at the water cooler, I want you to ask them, I want you to ask the individual, if you had to rank it from 1 to 5, where does defense land? Don't ask them anything else. Just say from 1 to 5, where does defense land? I will bet you any amount of money if you ask 3 people, defense lands not number 1, not number 2, but I bet you it lands 3 to 5.
But what
I
is the
agree with
question
you.
that they're being asked?
What was that?
What's the question? What's the question that
What
they're going to be
whether
asked?
Nando plays defense?
No, I play good defense. The question is, with the government spending $38 trillion out of that, the majority of the budget is spent in defense. Do you agree or disagree? And how do you rank that 1 through 5?
Or the question for me
Okay.
would be out of the pie of our budget, rank the top 5 items
Yes.
that in order of importance to you
Correct.
that they should be in.
Yeah. That's a question.
I just asked you that question. Give me your top 5.
Defense is 3.
Okay, what's number 1?
I say for me, Medicare and Medicaid. Sorry.
Okay. Is that 1 and
That's 1.
that's like number 1.
That's
Number
1.
2? What's number 2? I'm going to say making sure that Social Security is fully funded.
I would agree with that. Medicaid, number 1.
That's number
Social
2.
Security, number 2. Defense is number 3. Because of our age group. This is the people we're talking to.
Yes.
And I bet you if you talk to those people 35 and 40 and older, let's go 40 and older, it would be interesting to see what they would say if what we had suggested, our top 3, Medicaid and Medicare, number 1, Social Security, number 2, defense, number 3, if that would change. I would be interested to know if people
I think the younger the person you ask, Medicare, Medicaid is not even going to be on the list. Social Security is not even going to be on the list. Strong
But are
national
we throwing
defense will
healthcare
be
as
somewhere.
part of Medicaid and Medicare? Are we throwing healthcare as part of that?
Young people don't, and when I say young people, I'm going to say 25 and younger. That's the last thing they could give a crap about is healthcare.
So what do they
They
care?
think they're going to,
So what do they care about then?
huh?
So what do the young people
But
care about?
well, it's as they get older. Now, for a young person, you ask that question to, I would not be shocked that
It's
the
going to be like
top
student
3 that
loan
we talked
forgiveness.
about aren't even going to be close. Exactly. Hey man, can I get my student loan forgiven?
That's number 1.
Can I get a cheap house or a cheap interest rate on a house,
That's number 2.
right? Cheap interest rate on a nice car I want to drive. Maybe there's a 25 or under that listens and they could they could comment on it.
It would be interesting to know, outside of our conversation, the next time we get together, if we can remember this topic, that if we did talk to somebody, what was their ranking? One, two, three, four, five. I would be interested in that because, like I always say on this podcast that we do, I would love for people to do their own research and to come back to us in comments and come back to let us know what are their thoughts, what are their rankings. I would love to hear that.
So season one's about to be over. We're gonna do a Christmas special, so stay tuned. We're still gonna be posting stuff on our website, on our channel. So make sure you look out for that. Any thoughts to summarize season one? Cov, give me your thoughts to summarize season.
It's a big learning curve. We will try and have conversations about things that interest more people than what just our interests are, which our interests are to us are interesting for us.
Yeah.
That's it.
What about you, Nano? Any to summarize it?
I just want to say thank you to everybody who actually listens. And this is a lot of effort for us to put together, to have a conversation, to develop our thought processes on subjects, whether we agree or disagree. And we're trying our hardest to give you something, to give you a platform. And I appreciate you two brothers. And this is great. And season two should be even better.
Are you saying we're supposed to prepare for these each time?
I think it's been a good time, good learning curve. Talked to some interesting people, covered a wide array of topics. Again, check us out. December, around the second week of December, we'll be back for a Christmas show. Then we'll be starting season two in January. And you fellas, take your time, get re-energized. We coming back with authority. So look left, look right, brothers crossing. Peace, folks.
Bye.